And welcome to the Lone Road Ranger. I invite you to join me today for a look back in time at a little town in southeast Kansas called Mound Valley. Mound Valley was established around 1869 and incorporated as a city in 1871. The town was a stop on the Missouri, Kansas, Texas Railroad line from 1886 until the 1970s, and was also served by the Frisco Railroad and is currently served by the SK&O Railroad, which operates on the Frisco's former tracks. Families could jump on the old Katy and ride it to Coffville and do their shopping at the old Yellowfront and do their banking at Condon Bank. The population at the beginning of Mound Valley was about 138 people, and by 1910 grew to almost 1,000. There were grocery stores, gas stations, livery stables, clothing stores, and stores of all kinds. Mound Valley was thriving at the turn of the last century. Today, there are only 348 folks in town, most still happy and proud. Each town has at least one person who became famous, and Mound Valley has three that fit that honor. W.C. Coleman, founder of Coleman Outdoor Camping Gear and Equipment; George Pepperdine, founder of Pepperdine University and Western Auto Supply Company; and also James Wesley, a famous country singer. All were raised mostly in Mound Valley, Kansas.
You can see over here on the corner, there's a burned out house there, and a friend of mine who lived there and his wife lost that house about 6 months ago. They have now moved to Cherryvale, where they bought a beautiful home there. This was a nice place too. I hated to see that go. There's a little gun shop here. I'm not a huge lover of guns, but I have a few, and it's really interesting to go in these little places and look around and see what they have there. I'm just going to pull around here and turn around and kind of show you the little place here. They always have business here. SEK Shooting and Sports LLC. Always have people there. This little old town. Of course, this area is pretty much gun savvy. Lots and lots of hunters and men and women who shoot for sport. I remember the days when they had turkey shoots around our hometown and here. My dad used to come over here to those. Here's the flagpole again, and right here was the business district in town, and some of the photos I put on here shows you kind of what it looked like in the old days. These are basically the last two remaining buildings in Mound Valley, Kansas, and it was a thriving community with blocks full of businesses and hotel and several things. This is a Christmas tree that they decorate every year over here too. Right in the middle of the street. This place here on the corner, there's two businesses here. The one that says Porky's, that is a quick stop, a mini mart, more or less. They make fantastic sandwiches, and they'll make you just about anything you want. They also have a gas pump outside, which if this town didn't have that, I don't know what they would do. And then the other side there is called the Barbed Wire is the name of it. And fantastic food. My wife and I come over here at least once a week to eat. Tell you a quick story about this jail. Of course, my dad grew up in the days when there was a lot of stuff going on, and guys could get in trouble pretty easy. And I'm sure my dad did his share of it. But he said that his dad was in this jail overnight once. And I heard stories about my grandpa, but I don't know what he did to get put in jail. And that jail, I don't think you would want to be in it. I stopped here at this Mound Valley jailhouse, and this is it. It's just a square brick building, just square, nothing to it. But people were put in here. In fact, my dad told me, actually his uncle's the one who told me, his brother, that he was in here overnight, and I think it was drunkenness and disorderliness, drunk and disorderly. And a lot of kids back in those days were doing that, and they still do, for that matter. Let's take a look inside here, see what we can see. Doesn't look like there's much here. 2 cells and probably a place where they brought the prisoners in. Boy, how would you like to spend a cold winter's night in there? Let's go over to the next one. About the same. Gosh. That would not be good. There's the jailhouse. They've got a small fire department right across the street here. And really, it's neat and has modern equipment. And I see, once in a while, I see those guys whiz by our house. We live out in the country. That's part of their area that they take care of. Here's the old railroad tracks. And I think the depot used to be right to my right back there and behind us. I should have pointed that out. It was a busy community. Still is rather busy for a small town. They've got a nice granary over here too. That's a big part of their business here in town. But the town has a lot of history. It's a very small town now. At one time there were over 900 people back in the early part of the 1900s. But now there are around, I think, 300 people, somewhere in that neighborhood. I only live about 8 miles from this town, and we come here a lot. My dad used to tell stories about on Saturday nights, his whole family would come here by horse and buggy, and his mother would give him a dime to spend, and that would get him into a movie theater, have popcorn and candy the whole night. It's hard to believe, but you can kind of understand when you used to be able to get a handful of candy for a penny. And then in movies, I guess were around 5 cents or 10 cents maybe. But they had a big time. He said the streets were so crowded you couldn't walk a straight line for more than about 10 feet. He said it was so crowded you couldn't stir them with a stick. That's the way a lot of these towns were back then. People would come in on Saturday nights and do their shopping, get their haircut, visit with people they haven't seen all week. They would even bring in their own wares to sell, like eggs and meat and tools, things like that they had available that people needed. Here's the flagpole, you can see it, and that was put in around 1938, and that flagpole is kind of the mark of the town. When you mention Mound Valley and anybody knows anything about Mound Valley, they know about the flagpole. There's City Hall and the library. Here's a Christian church, and over on this side, this is a First Baptist church. Even though Mound Valley is a small town, they still have good values. They no longer have a high school. It closed in 1961, but they have a very nice grade school, which used to be the high school. And you can see there's kids running around there. They got good playgrounds. And here they've got the administrative offices, and then a very nice recreation center or a basketball court, and my grandsons play basketball in there. It's a very nice court. It's kind of surprising a little town like this has something for the kids that nice, but they do. And that's why I say they value their families and their children here. Ever since I was a boy, my dad used to bring us over here. We live in Cherryvale, which is about 15 miles away or so. Right here is the Mound Valley Museum. It's not open right now. They're doing remodeling inside, but I talked to the lady at the library, and she said we might be able to get in there if we call and make an appointment. But they're closed for the winter already, so I guess that's not going to happen today. But there's that Christmas tree again, the old downtown. Now they have a new community building right here. They just built a few years ago, and it's really, really nice. It's that's where people do their voting and have family reunions and things like that. Well, we're going to be leaving town here in just a minute, and thought I'd show you one more thing up here. Here's the old railroad tracks. I'll tell you this story about a lady who grew up here in Mound Valley, Kansas, told me. And she said that when she was a little girl, hadn't even started school yet, there was a man by the name, they called him Pretty Boy Floyd. He had become friends with her mother and dad. And her mom and dad kind of put this story back together for her and said that he was a really nice man, although he wasn't really in real life, but to them he was very nice. And the FBI had started a task force to look for these guys like Bonnie and Clyde, Pretty Boy Floyd, John Dillinger, and several others. And they knew that they were hanging around in South Coffeyville, Kansas. And that's where this lady's mother and dad used to frequent to buy feed and food and so forth. Well, one night, in the middle of the night, they got a knock on their front door, and it was Pretty Boy Floyd. He said that FBI was after him, and he needed a place to stay, and he stayed there with them almost 2 weeks, I guess. And I asked her how she found out about this story, and she said her mom and dad told her this story later on in life after she was married and had several kids. And I think, in fact, her dad had already passed, and they were the ones who were the good friends, her dad and Pretty Boy Floyd. Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy hearing that story. It's one that a lot of people probably tell, though. He was probably friends with a lot of people. What we're seeing right here is the old ball field. I played ball here several times, and pee-wees and softball. We had different teams that we were on, several of us guys, and my cousins, when I was younger, before I started playing ball, we would come here and watch them play baseball. And I really got my yearning to play baseball from watching my cousin, one of my cousins particularly. He was really good. Well, that's it for today, and I've got a bunch of pictures on here I want you to just sit and take a look at when you get some time, because it does walk you back in time a long, long time, quite a few years.
Once again, thank you for watching the Lone Road Ranger channel about Mound Valley, Kansas. If you have any suggestions about might be interesting cities or small towns for us to video, please let us know about it in our comments section. Thank you very much once again, and we'll see you soon. This is Jack the Lone Road Ranger saying adios.